This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers Podcast.
I'm sitting down today with Jay from Randland TV Podcast / are you a YouTube channel now as well?
Yeah, we have a bit of a YouTube channel going, as you know, as our next guest on our YouTube channel for Wheel of Time Jeopardy.
Yes, no, that was a blast, and hopefully it's coming out soon.
Yeah, that was fun, and I won't say that it was fun because I completely won, but
I won't say it wasn't fun because Aradia trounced me, but no, it was a blast. And it's always fun to be like in the presence of greatness, like really watching Aradia excel and giving her that opportunity to really show off the incredibly quick recall skills that she has over the entire series and shame the rest of us.
Yeah,
that was
because we don't have
nice.
A podcast dedicated to giving me all the airtime I need to show off.
It was an education for sure. It was fun. I feel like we need a vengeance episode though.
Yeah.
I'm so here for it.
Well, what's amazing is watching the episode before that when all three contestants were struggling to come up with answers to most of the questions.
I was yelling at that episode so much.
And then to come and have an episode with a radio where, like, no question goes unanswered, and no question goes unanswered, and not a single question was answered, like, incorrectly.
No, and you and Colin did admirably. It was also, I mean, a radio was just all over the buzzer, but we won't give too much away, but it was fun.
Yeah, go everyone who's hearing this, by the time this episode comes out, that episode should be out. So go, like once you're done with this, go over to YouTube and watch me just.
It'll be in the links down below.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really fun. I had a ton of fun, like getting to talk with other people, because I talked to Seth a lot about it, and it was fun to show off to a different audience.
Definitely. It was great having you. And thank you so much for having me. Obviously, I'm a huge spoilers fan, and it was funny because you were the first Wheel of Time fans that I met just at SpoilerCon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd never met fans. That was sort of our just nosedive into the fandom.
Yeah, I remember being introduced, and you're like, "Oh, these guys are doing this Randland TV thing." I was like, "Oh, great!" And also, I love the Pillow Friends costume. Right?
Yes.
That was top
We
notch,
comfort
right?
each other, but it's just a face. Yeah.
Oh, that won me over right there.
Yeah, I remember
It was
too being
good.
like, wait, other podcasters came to this from what state again? Like, it was so surprising, but then so
New
wonderful.
York.
I mean, it was so delightful to meet you, but it was just like, I thought this was just a little get together. Like, why do we have people flying in from what?
Well, you did a good job marketing it. I mean, it was very official. So I was like, yeah, this sounds awesome. People are meeting up to talk about Wheel of Time in Portland. Great.
Feels like a fake it till you make it, like, because now we're trying to like fulfill the expectations we set up in our own minds. Like, well, it went so well, how do we make sure that happens again? Because we didn't actually mean for it to be.
Yeah,
that
no
successful.
pressure. I feel like you've just put you got a break. You got a break with the pandemic last year, so now it's on.
Well, if anything, that kind of set it up another notch because we got so many great guests to come on virtually during the pandemic that we could never get in person. So now we have the pressure of having a great in-person event and having thrown an excellent like remote event with a bunch of guests, and now we're like trying to marry those two things together and pull them both off successfully. Yeah.
We're
Fine.
super qualified for this. I definitely went to college for multimedia event planning. Definitely not for geography and geology, so I could stay hidden in a basement and stay away from people. That's not why I went to college.
Let's have two introverts plan a giant party. Woo!
Do not know how this happened.
In fairness, there's a lot more than the two of us planning it. There is a planning committee that actually knows what they're doing.
They're amazing, by the way.
They really, really are.
Do you want to dig into Chapter 10?
No, we should ask her to tell us about how she found Wheel of Time.
Well,
Give
did
us
I
your
forget that
personal
question?
story about
Yes.
finding Wheel of Time.
We have to get that from everybody.
Okay, so how did I find the Wheel of Time? I was living with my co-host Colin. We were BFFs in Brooklyn, and he gave me the Eye of the World and just said, I think you'd like this book. And honestly, I wasn't even that avid of a fantasy reader at that time. I think I was in college or right after college. And I read it, and then I immediately read the next 2 books. And then Colin said, you should stop and take a break. And that didn't happen. And I read the whole series. And I was just like trying to talk to him about it. He's like, I guess I have to reread it now. And then, of course, I've reread it many times since, but I just fell in love with it immediately in my 20s.
So how long have you known Colin then?
Ooh, I'll age myself. 13 years.
That's a good friendship.
It is good. It was, I was going to school in New York, and kind of like the show Friends, there was just a group of people who all moved to New York together and stumble in and out of each other's apartments, and Colin was part of that group that I just randomly met, and we became best friends. And the Wheel of Time helped.
It does that. It makes friends. I've noticed that. Yeah.
For sure. When you find another person who's into it, it's like, we are now besties. That's just a thing that has happened.
It's kind of great because I used to have the problem of being the one who was always rereading it. And now Colin is that person. So I just get frequent texts that are whatever book he's on. And I know he just finished a reread not that long ago. And today I got a text that said, I'm on book 4, ... I was like, it's like, but this is what I'm paying attention to this time.
Oh, I
like,
love
okay.
that. Yeah, I love going through and having one thing to glam onto when you go through the whole series. There are so many times when I would do a reread, and that would be like, because I'd be thinking about one thing I really wanted to focus on.
He's trying to focus on like the political mechanisms and kind of the details that we might blink away, focus on the bigger plot line. So just like those little things, which is interesting.
I discovered a new thing in this chapter, just rereading it today. So that was fun. I did not understand what the Wise Ones were doing.
Oh.
Chapter 10, Unseen Eyes. The symbol is the Twisted Stone Terangrial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the what's it called?
Mobius
yes,
strip.
Mobius strip. I'm like, Fauci knot?
Yeah.
What? Like, clearly I've been looking at the wrong news today. Mobius strip, that's the word. But yeah, that's the symbol, because this is a dream-heavy chapter.
It's all about the dreams. The dream world, the dream walking, the dreams, the dream walkers. We'll say dream a lot in this episode.
Yes, very dreamy. I skipped all the way down to like the next page for the paragraph that makes more sense as a read. Because it's just
right, okay. Because the beginning of this is just Salim. She gets back from her walk where we talked about it was the walk and talk where she like met up with everybody and had all these conversations, and then was in danger from Halima, who just freed Moghedien. Mm-hmm. And here's Salima sort of wandering about the same thing, being like, you shouldn't have gone out alone, it's dangerous, and Egwene's dismissing her, which...
But there's a paragraph here that kind of sets that stage, if we want, for... This is like the third paragraph of the chapter, because that's where it makes sense. Egwene let the foolish words wash over her in the same way she let the woman undress her, paying less than half a mind. Ordering her to be quiet would only produce so many hurt looks and abused sighs that it made little difference. Except for the brainless chatter, Selene performed her duties diligently. If with so many flourishes they became a dance of grand gestures and obsequious curtsies. It seemed impossible that anyone could be as silly as Selene, always concerned with appearances, always worrying over what people would think. To her, people were Aes Sedai and the nobility and their upper servants. By her book, no one else mattered. Perhaps no one else thought by her book. It probably was impossible. Egwene was not about to forget who had found Selene in the first place, any more than she did who had found Mary. True, Chesa was a gift from Shiriam, but Chesa had shown her loyalties to Egwene more than once. And I just like that because it sets out her entire maid situation. Very, like,
yes.
That's the entire, there's your nutshell. That's it.
For now.
For now.
For a very brief period of time before 2 of those maids are dead due to...
Halima really takes out the entire, like, labor force Egwene has under her, right? She takes away Moghedien, and then she takes away Mary and Selene.
Mm-hmm.
It's so frustrating to watch with that knowledge as a reader. It's just like, Egwene, be suspicious.
Yeah. Good help is hard to keep alive,
Clearly.
Clearly.
Well, clearly Egwene doesn't appreciate them very much. Even
No. No, they're really terrible. Although, I wonder... This is, again, she's had the headaches already, so maybe she's being compelled to not like them? That's totally a stretch.
Yeah, I don't think so. Though I do always wonder why Halima let Chesa stay.
I assume because she was appointed by the Dark Friend.
Yeah, so the orders would have been, leave that mole alone. Even if she looks like she's loyal to Egwene, just above your pay grade. Don't.
I disagree. I think, Halima's just lazy and she's like, I can't do all the work. Someone's got to dress her, bring her food.
Someone's got to actually do the work.
Yeah. You're just killed them all.
That's actually really legit.
That. Yeah, totally.
It's probably a little of both.
Yeah, I have to compel somebody to be doing all this work. Yeah. And I like that she says, it seems impossible anyone could be as silly as Salim, always concerned with appearances. And then later on in the chapter, when she's so concerned with what she's wearing, it's like a whole, paragraphs and paragraphs about being concerned with what she's dressed in.
Oh, the hypocrisy. How we love to see it.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, ooh, it is Jordan's hypocrisy right there.
Yeah. Egwene's very off her game in this one.
Yeah, she is, for sure.
She's learning. She's new. New environment, new place. New situation.
And hazards coming faster than she can deal with the last one, so it's fair for her to be not in tip-top shape at this point.
Yeah, and for her to take a little bit of it out on her maids, I suppose.
That's what maids are for. Emotional punching bags. Please abuse the help. Don't abuse the help.
Well, and I like that her other maid's named Mary, and she's the most sour, oh, she's just not Mary at all. And I wonder if these two names are Celine, very Solemn and Mary, or he was one of them Solemn and one was Mary, sort of a
maybe
where he came up with the names. That's the best I can come up with for what, because these are some of the most pointless characters. They're here, they do nothing, and they die. Why? Just to make Halima to give someone Halima to kill?
Or just to make Egwene seem less likable because she's always nitpicking at them.
Jordan felt that the name Salad was getting a little thin and predictable.
Oh, yeah. Just throw another S name in there. Just on the pile. It's exact same name as an Aes Sedai, by the way.
Salim?
Selene?
No, Celine, right? Well, no. There's Salim, but that's Lanfear. There's Salim the servant.
Salim Neckarine.
What? Literally the same name?
Yep. Aes Sedai of the Green Aja, raised to Amerlin Seat in the year FY 1084.
Is it honestly a little believable, though? Because, we have dupes of names in our world, and maybe that is a textural element.
It'd be like someone named George, right? And knowing, well, there's a King George. Gosh, yeah. Jordan, how dare you reuse that name,
God, you're always dating Salems, another Salem. I actually thought that maybe he was illustrating how Egwene interacts with these maids, as a contrast to Elida, who, not that she necessarily treats them better, but Egwene feels like they're superfluous, and she's not used to being taken care of, whereas Elida's very demanding. Take care of me. I have high expectations of you. I'm not going to do that myself, put on my glove type attitude.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point. There's a line from Loyal a couple books back where he says you can tell the nature of a people by how they treat their servants, and it shows up in the architecture of various palaces. So maybe this is Jordan's way of being this is how Egwene treats the lesser people under her, not just her Aes Sedai subordinates, but actual lesser people, and showcasing it against Elida and being just in case you were confused about which Amerlin is better.
Yeah. One needs creature comforts and the other sits on a hard wooden stool all day and falls over. So it's IKEA stool.
Well, and Egwene's so uncomfortable with being taken care of. I think that's sort of the nitpickiness here. Is not necessarily that they're doing a bad job, but she's leave me alone. Stop.
Yeah.
I feel this is how I would feel if someone was trying to undress me. Of get your hands away from me. What the hell? And I feel Chesa does a better job of letting Egwene dress herself.
Right.
I think it's interesting throughout the books, you get moments, I think, with most of the characters where they're adjusting to new positions and stations in life, and part of that is just the basics of getting dressed, So it's fair that they're showing it for Egwene becoming Amerlin, too.
Bathing in ewe's milk. Just gotta point out that line, because it's fucking hilarious.
Maybe she really was an idiot. I think that's Jordan being yeah, sometimes people are just dumb.
Yeah, beauty fads. This is someone who would buy Goop, okay?
No, I'm with her. I was that sounds moisturizing. They probably have very limited resources. I've used snail mucus as a mask. Milk doesn't sound that crazy.
Yeah, we gotta go.
I don't.
It is ridiculous to be suggesting that to an army on the march, though.
Oh yeah, no, I'm making light of beauty trends, but I'm with you. And Egwene on that one.
Yeah. You? Like, that's all my only response to use milk is you. Like,
Also, you need so much. Like,
Yeah, I'm like, this is disrespectful to like the entire concept of milking animals.
and then, is it cold? Because I don't want to take a cold bath.
No.
But I don't want hot used milk either. Like, what? And then it's just...
You can drink it while you're in it.
That doesn't sound...
This sounds disgusting.
No.
Let me just scrub under my pits before I go for a drink. Yeah, no.
It's not salty enough. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Yeah, no.
I almost wish Avienda was just like sitting cross-legged in the corner while that offer was made, just to see her reaction of like bathe and use.
Before retiring, she padded to the entrance and opened a small gap in the door flaps. Outside was moonlit stillness and silence. After a moment, something moved in the shadows beside a tent across the way. It looked like a woman. And then she just dismisses it and says maybe it's else. That's got to be Halima, right?
I don't think it's Salem or Mary. And I doubt that it's Arena and Nicola. It could be. But Halima makes like infinitely more sense, given the events of the night.
That she's been creeping around in the darkness, freeing Moghedien. Hell, it could be Moghedien, but probably not, because Moghedien we know went right through the gateway.
Moghedien's at Shale Ghoul at this point, getting mind trapped.
Fun little parallel going on there.
Yeah, but it's got to be Halima being like, okay, I've done this, this, and this on my to-do list. I should go check on Egwene and see how that's going.
Man, I always think of the mind trap of Moghedien as being very far time removed from Dumai's Wells. But if our timing's right, they happen the same night.
So, like, Dumai's Wells happens in the morning and Moghedien gets mind trapped by that evening. So the Dark One has a chance to know how Dumai's Wells went, and...
That perhaps the freeing of Moghedien was triggered by Dumai's Wells. Why else would she free her then? He's known about her. They've known about her for a long time.
Yeah, how long did anyone know that she was there?
Well, that's a good question. We don't know how they know.
That's true.
Right. We could assume maybe that Halima shows up knowing that Moghedien's a prisoner there, which means that would have been ever since she was there, but which would...
There's enough Black Ajah that somebody would have spotted Moghedien.
Well, who would know who she is?
I don't know if they... Yeah.
No one knows what she looks like. And she has a fake face on.
But she's been missing. Some of the Forsaken have commented on it. I'm sure the Dark One is looking, expected her to check in and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not exactly sure. That's an unexplained mystery. How do they find out that she's being held prisoner? And, I always just kind of went, Dark Friends? Like, they've got spies everywhere.
Yeah, and it does make sense that Dumai's Wells would have triggered her getting free, because there's nothing that says that she was just discovered by the Dark that day, which means that they picked their time, and Dumai's Wells seems like a reasonable trigger.
That makes sense. And I feel like even if Dark Friends or Black Ajah didn't recognize her, she would be seeking a way out, maybe. I mean, I don't know if she would want to reveal herself, but she might have been trying to.
Like some little secret hand sign kind of thing.
Or just I don't know.
I can't imagine that Moghedien wasn't aware of some of the Black Ajah sisters in camp and couldn't have made herself known to them. Like,
that's what I was thinking.
Like and then have them report back in. The only reason she might not have is just because she was vulnerable.
Yeah, I thought about that too. I was like, she wouldn't want to admit that she's so humiliated.
And she doesn't want the Dark One to know what she's been doing, because training his enemies is like the top thing he doesn't want them to be doing. It's always interesting to me. You think the Dark One would have actually benefited from not bringing the Forsaken forward in time, because like their knowledge is what gives so many of our characters a leg up.
Yeah.
Well, that assumes that the Dark One actually wants to destroy the world, right?
Assuming the Dark One's not the creator.
Exactly. Like, what is the actual motivation driving?
Here's the theory. The creator created reality around him, creating his own prison, the Dark One. And the only way he can ever escape his own creation is to destroy it.
Checks out.
That's why you have to drill into the hole. That's the hole. It's a wacky theory, but I've enjoyed it.
There's nothing sort of broken about it.
So. No, I mean, if you make the Dark One and the creator the same thing, which is not unreasonable because of the all caps way they speak, right? That it's all caps in the beginning in Eye of the World, and we think that's the creator, and then all caps with the Dark One all the time. So if they're the same, well, no one would have imprisoned the Dark One, so he had to imprison himself. Well, why would he do that? Well, create the world. Well, where do you create it? Around you.
Yeah, one is the singularity, and then one is the universe.
Right.
Yeah.
As one does.
And there's all sorts of time weirdness that goes on with the creator. So that makes a total sense, right?
It's a good explanation.
Now I'm talking myself into it.
Well, and then Egwene puts herself into your background.
Yes, so she joins the Starscape.
Starscape, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound right in my
whatever.
head. Yeah. And yeah, so she's looking through all the various dreams, and we get a lot of information about the dream world here.
Yeah, there's that expositionary world building. Do you remember how the dream world works? Yes, we do.
Again, this is coming out after a while, and people may not have read a book in a while, and it's the first time they're being jumped into dream world, so it's like, how do dreams work? How do you identify them? They're little glowing balls. She knows how to scare Nicola. I do. My favorite part of this, and we can talk about it all, but is the idea that she knows how to hook someone out of their dream and bring them into a custom-created Tel'aran'rhiod dream.
Mm-hmm.
Because that tells us exactly how Ishamael was doing it to Rand.
Oh, yeah.
All that speculation and all the Eye of the World-isms about, like, this feels like Tel'aran'rhiod, but it's not, and it's like this weird controlled space, but somehow Baalzamon seems to be in control, and how did he get Rand in there? Did Rand dream himself in? This is what happened. Baalzamon was able to identify the three boys' dreams because they're
Ta'veren.
And once he was able to do that, he was hooking them into a version of his own dream to try and get information out of them. So anyway, it's such a simple little throwaway line that like really explains so much of the Eye of the World-isms that people, I think, get confused about. That like half the time these dreams are just, well, they're in Ishamael's control in the dream world, and he can do whatever he wants with it.
Did I can't say his name right now, Ishamael bring the rats into those dreams too and kill them all and then
Totally.
put them back? Like,
So
how did he
rude.
kill all those rats?
They were all asleep, and then they woke up in a nightmare, and then they were dead.
He's like, I need you. I don't want to fabricate these. I'm too lazy. Like,
I think he was making a point,
yeah.
I can
Yeah.
kill you for real. Yeah,
Yeah.
like this works into the world. What I think is frustrating about this passage, or this section, is that she's like, yeah, I can scare them, and I don't care if it's completely illegal and immoral. I'm just like, have you learned nothing? Ugh.
I had a bullet point note on this whole chapter that was just said consent police. Like, and I was just like, brings up a lot of
Yeah.
questions the more you learn about the mechanics of the dream world.
Yeah, do what you must and then pay the price for it. Like, ooh, that's not the greatest philosophy when it comes to consent.
No.
So, yeah.
But yeah, so she does not understand her problematic behavior yet at all.
Not yet.
On some point, the ends justify the means because the world is ending, and I need to somehow fix this.
Yeah. We get a lot of great imagery in this part too, like spending more time. And I love this word carapace. Like, he talks about dream shields and describes them as a crystal carapace. So just some of the descriptions, like light-spangled sea, an endless array of lights, and like a soap bubbles.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of
The
fun
shimmering
world building.
iridescent.
Yeah, you get a bit sci-fi.
Totally, and a bit abstract as well. Like, this is very much like he is describing a vision that is not something you can see in your everyday world. But he's got it in his head, and it's very descriptive and very vivid in my head.
Yeah, you can tell that he sees it completely, right?
I like the description of, it's almost like being on mushrooms, because the whole disembodied element of it, like she's seeing but not with eyes, is interesting.
No, I like that our backgrounds are selected to represent this chapter, but they both kind of look like psychedelic trips. Like, there's definitely an aspect of just going to sleep and tripping in the dream world. Like, and I have to imagine Jordan was exposed to acid in his time
Something
in the 70s Vietnam.
Yeah, the dates are right.
The dates are right. The beard is right.
And his general like open-mindedness towards experiences is correct.
Yeah. So it's hard not to say, like, is this Jordan writing about a trip?
Yeah, it's a trippy space For sure. And the way things move in response to your thoughts is like, yeah, don't think about some things because they will become real. It's that rule applies.
And then being able to control your thoughts in the world of dreams and like almost like lucid dreaming, right? Like there's the connection there between lucid dreaming and having sort of a drug trip.
Yeah, and you can find things you didn't know were there.
If you need to. If you really need to. Oh, man. Well, with the legalization of all drugs here in Oregon, or decriminalization of all drugs here in Oregon.
I was like, all drugs are legal now in Oregon?
We just decriminalized a whole bunch of possession. That's all we really did.
Let me just say, you can't throw me in jail for all this weed! Wait. All this cocaine. Weed, of course not the weed. The weed's all this, what's a good drug? Cocaine? Yes, cocaine.
Yeah, that big sack of crystal meth that's right behind you. Yeah, totally fine.
Actually? Oh, funny you should mention crystal meth radio.
Yeah. We do have a big bag of white powder sitting in the kitchen because Travis bought a 50-pound bag of flour because he's making bagels for like on an industrial scale. So we have when you like a big bag, I could like grab the big brown bag of like white powder and be like. So I had a moment of almost like, nah. If this is more of a video podcast, I would. But
cocaine bagels, yum. We don't have them in my state, so you can send me some.
Same. That's the problem. Is we're like, there's no good freaking place to get decent bagels around here. So we started making them, and everyone who's tried them is like, I want more, and he's like, well, I'll make you some more. So then that's kind of happening now.
That's awesome. No, Brandon made bagels a few weeks ago, and never had such a good bagel in my life. It's like I've had so many bagels, and then this was just like, it cost you how much and how little time? Why are we not doing this more?
It's, I mean, he's rising them from dough and everything, so it's it's a yeasty bread, so it takes some time. But
if you're into baking, it's like bagels aren't any more complicated than other breads.
And in some ways, they're easier.
Yeah. Point is, bagels are the best.
Bagels are good.
When I visit, I'm coming by to grab some bagels, for sure. I drove like 40 minutes to pick up some gluten-free bread the other day, and it was awesome, and it was worth it. They had everything sourdough, which was my bagel substitute.
Sourdough makes everything better.
I'm working back on the sourdough starter again, so we can do the sourdough bagels. So I'm like coming back around on that. And I tried to make bread with it the other day, and it wasn't ready. Like, it definitely came out just a pancake. But then I fed it again, and today it's kicked off, and it is definitely still kicking off. So I need to give it another couple days before I try again, and then hopefully we can make. And I was thinking I might just add some commercial yeast as well, because you can get the culture and do a starter and let that sit for a little while, and then give it a little bit of extra rise with that industrial strength yeast.
Add a little terangrial to your baking. Will help.
Do I embrace the yeast through the angriol, or?
Next thing I have is the strong implication that Egwene walked in on Nynaeve having sexy dreams one time.
Yes.
That happened. Definitely.
And definitely with Lan.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who else would have been in Nynaeve's dreams? Like, literally nobody.
Perrin, clearly.
No.
Oh, no. Uno.
Oh, my God.
The only other person would be Val and Luca, and then she'd be really mad at herself about it.
Yeah, it could be Val and Luca, yeah.
Just because he's pretty and he gave her flowers, and she's, like, mad at him, so he's on her mind.
There was some serious flirting going on between the two of them.
She enjoyed the attention. Yeah, she did. Yeah, and she was mad at Lan. She was like, you're not here, so.
No, I definitely think she would have had a fling with Luca if she had been unattached.
Agreed. Mm-hmm. If she didn't have Lan's ring hanging around her neck.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think she would have blown off some steam with Luca if she'd had nobody.
That would have helped everyone.
Yeah, it's a little out of her character, but they could just write her character to be less of a prude from square one, and then it would be fine. Okay, and then the next thing I have is all caps. Just saying, there's someone else who speaks in all caps.
Oh, yes, obviously.
Yes.
But that's just indicate shouting that she's not very good at the dream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like how it also runs like a telegram. It's got that very like stream of consciousness stop. I got that feel to it, and it's just like, Egwene, you sound like it's the 1820s and someone just laid a sub-Atlantic cable.
It is like that, and she leaves like probably the most important thing for last too.
So
Like,
abrupt. Here's some news. Also, by the way, there's a serial killer out for you. Okay, bye.
yeah, exactly. No, stay safe.
And when she talks to Amis, I imagine it's like someone like your grandmother shouting in all caps on when texting you, and she's like, "Hi, hon, love you," all, you know, and then like, and you're like, "Hi, dear, yes, I can hear you. Don't worry, you don't have to type in all caps. I'll be right there." You know, like that's exactly. Egwene is new at using this technology, and so she's making all the awkward like social mistakes that you make when you don't know how to use a social media app.
And it was good for Egwene to get a bit of her own back, because she was getting odd satisfaction with delivering that message to Nynaeve and just speculating about how Nynaeve probably is paranoid or self-conscious about her dreams being seen, and you know, she had a laugh at Nynaeve possibly being alarmed by her shouting.
And then and Nynaeve wakes right up, right? She pops out of the dream, or at least, yeah. And then Elaine doesn't.
Yeah.
Probably because Elaine's less terrified of Egwene showing up in her dreams.
Probably because Elaine needs beauty sleep. She's like, I'm not getting up.
Right? Like, that will keep until tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or perhaps Elaine was having also sexy dreams, and them being interrupted was like, that interrupts the sexy dreams and converts you back to like normal dreams.
Buzzkill.
That was my other like, yeah.
I mean,
But
that is
just,
kind of Egwene's motif. Total cockblock.
definitely. I think Egwene just cockblocked Elaine.
We can headcanon that. That works.
In her dreams.
Elaine accidentally slips into a dream about Tom.
Whoa!
No!
God.
Oops.
Another interesting relationship there that we explored it a little bit when it came up, but
It's so unrealistic and has zero help to the plot. It needs to just go.
It's best left alone.
Go the way of Moraine's staff into the past. And then keep Moraine's staff, because the staff's awesome.
Oh, yeah. I think we just settled on let's not have Elaine flirt with Tom. And then Nynaeve was alarmed. Or, no, just Nynaeve got the message.
And then Egwene runs away from Gawain's dreams because,
Yeah, Egwene, I got the sense that Egwene was just really horny.
Yeah.
Like, at this stage of life, it's also a way to deal with stress, but she really can't even go near those Gawain dreams.
Oh. Well, and what has she been thinking about? She's in the dream, she's thinking about how Nynaeve's having sexy dreams. Well, why is she thinking about that? 'Cause she's
Maybe Elaine.
Yeah, maybe Elaine.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're the one. You're the one.
Yeah,
who's
you're
thinking
the
about
thirst trap here, girl.
that. Right. And so she steps into Tel'Runad with a very low-cut dress.
With considerably more bosom exposed. And her waist is smaller and...
She even made it smaller.
Gawain Tritcand had unfortunate effects on her. Yes, he does. Deadly, fatal effects, one might say.
Yeah, unfortunate.
I mean, if Jordan was trying to showcase, like, a bad teenage relationship, like, Romeo and Juliet is really just a story about two teenagers that have a bad miscommunication and 6 people die.
Yeah.
You know? Or a 3-day fling and 6 people die.
Also,
or something like that,
she's way too young.
Right.
Juliet makes a lot more sense when you realize that she's like 13. And it's like, the overly dramatic attitude, I see it.
She is young. I feel like it's annoying because no one points it out to her, but she's that girlfriend that's dating the guy who's a jerk. And, like, no one really likes him, but in this case, everyone just likes him, so...
Oh, he's very charismatic jerk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's also, like, he's kind of, like, was a high school football star and is still kind of coasting on that, you know? Like, he's graduated. He's not really a football star anymore, but, like, he still, like, watches all the old plays. He's still, you know, he's got the old moves.
He was the charming, sexy older brother who just peaked really young and then started to get some bad ideas because he didn't know what to do.
But now he's turned to, like, bullying, and, like, he's hanging out outside the old school, smoking, talking to teenage girls, being like, hey, you know, I get older and they say the same age, you know? Like, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That's going.
Do you think...
Avoid his dreams at all costs.
I did want to ask though, do you think that he actually like uglifies himself in the dreams, or do you think that that's just Egwene being another hypocrite and being like, well, he makes me more beautiful? And
I think he does.
Yeah, we all see ourselves as uglier than we are.
But he has so much arrogance.
But he also has self-loathing and his insecurity and jealousy
that's
issues.
True. That's true. So yeah, like, Galad would show up just as he is because like he doesn't have all those issues. No, that's fair.
Yeah, I can see Galad showing up exactly the way he is.
Yeah, just like, and then be like, you can change your appearance. And you'd be like, why would I do that? It's not true to myself.
I would not avoid those dreams.
Neither did Bearlane.
I had a mechanics question about the dream world. So there's a portion where Egwene describes the difference between, like, you know, women's dream shields and men's dream shields. Can a dreamwalker deliver the type of messages she's giving to Amis and Nynaeve and Elaine if there is a shield up? It's just interesting because there's a balance between the convenience of this type of communication and it being the end of the world, and you'd think they would shield their dreams. So that was something that struck me in this one, that there's a lot of vulnerable people in that way. Yeah.
Just the Dreamwalkers can't shield the dreams. Most of them are channelers.
That's true. Some of them could, but Nynaeve and Elaine could. But they know they... I guess there's a balance, because now Moghedien's loose. Are you still going to walk around with your dreams unprotected?
That's an interesting point. I'm surprised that they hadn't learned the weaves to shield the dreams like all other Aes Sedai are supposed to be taught to do. And that they weren't doing that as a standard practice. Yeah,
like most of the time. But they do know Egwene needs to contact them. So
are they like complete? Don't they like have to compare notes because they're like they weren't expecting this?
Yeah, they weren't expecting this.
This is like a new skill for her.
Yeah, which is why she's shouting and having no grammar.
I feel like that's a plot hole.
Yeah, it just struck me that they were leaving themselves vulnerable.
Yeah, and I feel like with the wise ones, there's not a concern because they're going to know how to use the dream well enough to just kick someone's ass. But the Supergirls leaving this vulnerability when they know that the spider is out there seems a little...
Yeah. Right? I mean, I guess they think she's captured until that point, but I don't think it changes too much after this.
They never shield their dreams.
Yeah, they never shield their dreams.
That's never a routine that they bring on.
And it's literally the first thing, one of the first things Moraine actually talks about ever. It's like, yeah.
And warders get the benefits of that similarly because it's very important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we even see here where she's like, all the Aes Sedai, like she's talking about Aes Sedai shielding their dreams. They all do it, right? Like, an Aes Sedai shield was a crystal, like...
Yeah, crystal carapace. Seamless sphere woven of spirit. And then the men's are like muddy water.
Is it carapace or carapace?
Oh, you could say either.
I would say carapace, but I also would say peperoncini, and apparently that's wrong.
Pepperoncinis?
I've never heard someone say it like that until Seth blew up.
I really like Italian subs, and that's the key ingredient.
I know lots of people
or banana peppers
like eating them, and I've never heard pepperoncini in my life.
They cured my friend's smoking habit. She would just eat jars of them. Yeah. Well, maybe. It's a lot of vinegar.
I mean, as long as she was able to, like, stop eating a lot of them, as long as she could, wasn't then hooked on pepperoncinis for the rest of her life, that's... Oh, I do 3 jars a day, It's such a bad habit. I spend, like, half my paycheck on pepperoncinis. Oh. You should see my stomach. It's all... a bunch of ulcers and...
Yeah. We'll have to make custom PSAs for her, like... If you gave up pepperoncinis, you could go to Disney 10 times a year for what you spent.
This is your bowels. These are your bowels on pepperoncinis. Any questions? Throw some sausage in a pan.
Actually, that's her other addiction. Sausages.
She's combining it into like a super addiction.
So now I'm thinking sausage stuffed pepperoncinis. Like jalapeno poppers?
I mean, honestly, in a pan together, that wouldn't be...
No, it wouldn't be too bad.
Throw that on a bun. Yeah, I'm into it.
Hungry.
Let's do it.
Yeah, all right, we're going to call the recording here. We need to go
break for food.
There's no food in the dream world, That'll make you full anyway.
So why do you think the wise ones always want to meet in the heart of the stone?
I'm gonna ask that. I have no idea.
I wondered if it was something to do with the fact that it was sort of the first thing in the prophecy, even though Calendar's not part of it, or Colander, but I don't know, because that was sort of where their journey with the Karakarn sort of began, is the heart of the stone. Was the only thing I could think.
Yeah, that's where contact is made between the Aiel and the rest of the cast, so it's important.
The stone tier does seem to be a bit of a universal meeting place. Like, the number of times that people, like, step out from behind the columns and, like, waha, I just heard everything that happened, right? Like, this is basically, like, the most public of public forums.
Yes.
Maybe it's because Bilal the net weaver set up shop there for like 3.5 minutes, and so now it's the center of the net. I don't buy that at all.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Something to do with Kalendor and the big battles and the Aiel Rand connection. Something about that makes it like people can't not think about it or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's like Rand's stronghold, because he's marked it as his own, and there's some power in marking it as his own.
Maybe. I do think it makes sense that they actually wouldn't pick a place in the Waste, given the times, because they, unlike the Aes Sedai who start all their dream world journeys physically where they are, like they're going on a normal journey, I don't think they'd want... They've seen Forsaken walking the dream world, or, other people. It's been busier. So maybe they wouldn't want to reveal where they are themselves. That was, like, one rationale. They wouldn't want to appear, like, in the city that they're actually in. But or lead people to the Waste, to like a protective measure, maybe.
That's fair, because everyone knows the stone. Everyone's already spying on the stone. You're not adding new risk by maintaining the stone as being spot.
Frosted Angel in the Sky says it's the Randland version of meeting at the top of the Empire State Building. It's like the most, like the biggest, the stone is the oldest, biggest icon for anyone else out there. And if you meet at the heart of it, that seems, and yet it's also, the stone is the one place that almost nobody has ever gone into, except for a couple of lords. So in a lot of ways,
the heart of the stone,
the heart of the stone is one of the most private places in the real world. It is extremely cordoned off.
That's a good point.
And it's hard to go places you haven't seen before. It's not impossible, but it's challenging. So
yeah. And people, we do see people accidentally dream themselves there for like a second, but you're right, Seth, like most people haven't been inside, so they wouldn't end up there.
Yeah, maybe it's just to avoid random dreamers, because random dreamers can't randomly dream themselves inside if they haven't seen it.
We just don't think of it as a private place because it's like the room in the stone we see more than any other room as readers.
Right. And any idea who the Unseen Eyes are? When we talk about them in Teleron all the time, I think they're the Heroes of the Horn and other various inhabitants of Teleron Riyadh.
I would agree with that, for sure. Just like the constant presence, that's got to be the heroes and other creatures who spend time in Teleron Riyadh. It's not always nefarious. I do wonder if there's someone nefarious watching this one, just because?
It's entirely possible someone's behind the columns. I mean, that's how Rand discovered where
Saladar
was. He was just hiding behind the columns. And watched that whole meeting between Swan.
Where Swan
did the whole 3D
GIS.
map thing.
Yeah.
Totally. 3-dimensional mapping.
Yet another reason why I love Swan is she thinks up GIS on the fly, like a month into her career as a dreamer. It's great. Aes Sedai arrogance, Aes Sedai arrogance, Aes Sedai arrogance.
There's some interesting thing where Moghedien says, no one can see me, and like I cast a light that only I can see. It's an interesting little thing. So she can light up the world around her, but no one else can see her. She looks like she's still in shadows.
Oh.
It's like a selective light.
Light bending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We see a Terran woman dream herself in, dressed as a High Lady. I think it is a High Lady, because she would be the only people who have actually been inside the stone, as we were just talking about.
Yeah, Egwene's just feeling like particularly elitist tonight, so it's just like questioning if she's another silly woman.
I love her gown that becomes plate mail, and she's even got like the flame of Tarval and like as a crest. It's like, well, even when you're terrified, you still think of yourself as Amerlin, so that's good.
I like the little tidbit that when she changes into the Aiel garb, like the Algoda blouse, that she doesn't add layers of jewelry because she understands that the collection is built over time and is personal and she would get laughed at. But I like that as just like actually thinking through the psychology of wardrobe,
So it also has a lot to do with Avienda and the snowflake necklace and the bracelet that she was, and how possessive she is of those. That's the beginning of her collection as a wise one.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, I do not like accumulating jewelry without a good story behind it. Like, I've never been able to just, like, go look at some random jewelry. I'm like, oh, yeah, I want that. No, it has to be, like, so much story. So, yeah, I really dig the Aiel. Like, every single piece, they know exactly where it came from, who gave it to them, why. Everyone's got it. And, yeah, Egwene does have 2 pieces to start with, so why would she fake it?
She's a little off kilter. She should have worn that.
The other thing I noticed in this is that she puts on a fringed shawl so green it was nearly black. She puts on a green fringed shawl.
She's green.
Because she's green.
Yeah.
Well, she's always thought of herself as green, because Gawain.
Yeah,
for sure. But it's nice, right? She's the Amerlin, but she was raised from the green, or would have been.
Mm-hmm. She hasn't grown into the shawl yet, or into the stole, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, or the shawl. I mean, there's all kinds of garments she's growing into right now.
Yeah.
And then she crawls into the sky like a rabbit.
Yeah, she gets startled and hops.
Yeah.
It's very cartoonish. I imagine, like, the Roadrunner or...
Yeah, it's straight out of a comic book physical humor. It's so funny. And then Mullane, like, dies. And that's even funnier.
Oh my god, the little bunny hop. We're all in on the Aiel humor on this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not hard to understand.
Yeah, the easiest to understand Aiel humor is the physical stuff, right? Like, that they love watching someone fall flat on their face. Like, that's just the most satisfying thing in the world, especially someone who's been showing off.
It's like, you take yourself down off that high horse. You don't need my help. You can do it yourself.
Yeah, hilarious.
And she recovers really well in a way that, you know, only Aiel would respect. I'm nervous because I made one of the 13 devils of hell mad, okay? I have a right. And they're like, oh, really? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, popcorn? Let's go.
How did you shame her exactly?
Yeah. How does one shame one of the supreme evils? We're so interested.
I put her in a collar. I made her do chores.
And the Aiel are like, really? That's it?
I love that there's this little dance going on in this chapter, because we see Egwene start to, you know, stumbling, making, you know, new mistakes and not being as confident as she always is. But then when it comes down to, like, the brass tacks important stuff, she's so purpose-driven that you can't ruffle her in that regard. She just snaps back to, like, this is my mission. I know who I am, actually. Even if I hop like a bunny and get distracted by my boyfriend. And
She is the Amerlin seat, and she proves that to Masana.
Yeah, at this point, she's just starting to prove it to herself.
yeah.
But yeah, pretty soon she'll be breaking people's brains with the sheer strength of her convictions.
She's starting to believe.
This chapter actually includes a lot of showing that she is starting to believe in herself as Amerlin.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Like, this conversation with them where they're just like, oh, we see your problems, like, right away. It's just, you get so much perspective of what Egwene is actually feeling, because these are women she doesn't have to impress. These are women she wants to impress. She doesn't have to overawe them. She wants them to be proud of her.
And they do respect her. Like, that comes through, and so that's really nice.
There's a certain amount of seeing into her subconscious through dress as well. That, like, even when she changes dress, she's always, something is representing her as the Amerlin. No matter what she's wearing, she's always the Amerlin. You know, and that's where we're seeing that, like, she's believing it herself, even in her subconscious. She never has to actively think about herself as Amerlin.
Yeah, she has to, like, make the stole go away and allow it to come back.
Exactly. And that is what I think is one of the most emblematic things of Egwene, is that she's able to jump into the situation and, in a week, become Amerlin. You know, like, she's, you know, taken on that role wholeheartedly, both feet in, just jumps into whatever situation she's in and embraces it and becomes. She became Aiel, and now she's becoming Amerlin. Even when she was Soldom, she was freaking the best.
Right?
I know.
So good that they, like, brought a ship just to put her back on, you know, Shanchan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
which is partly a plot, but yeah, she had a real skill that justified that. The earth thing, like talent with earth. Like, of course you have a rare talent nobody else has. Of course you do.
Yeah.
So she tells the wise ones that she's the Amerlin, and they go, "Oh, so you're a puppet then, are you?"
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're like, "You're how old and you got made clan chief? Okay, we can see where this is going."
Yeah, a puppet. And Egwene comes back with I am going to actually be their chief. I will make them acknowledge me.
And I feel like they believe her. Like, I think Egwene's relieved that they see to the heart of the issue right away and calling that out. But they don't doubt her capability.
Right.
No, they've seen what she can do.
They doubt the malleability of her subordinates. But...
Right. They don't think that her subordinates deserve her.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
They're like, don't waste yourself on them.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of work to hurt a lot of children for not a lot of reward. Like, oh, really? Okay, if you want to do that, go right ahead.
We've got way better subordinates for you back over here.
Yeah. Although I'm with Bear, I would rather Egwene marry an Aiel man than Gawain.
I mean, everybody would.
Oh my god. She would have
take
had
anyone.
such a better, more productive life if she had just taken Sorlia's advice and settled down to be
More
a wise
productive.
one.
Yeah.
Anyone who's not Shido.
Yes. Well,
That's true.
Sorlia would not have set her up with a Shido. I'm trusting Sorlia on this. I'm not trusting Egwene's judgment. I'm trusting Sorlia's judgment.
Always, all right, always a good call. Yeah.
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 So then there's the question of, will you bring the Aes Sedai to the Karakarn? And Egwene being like, well, that's just super inappropriate. Just like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, Egwene.
This is, I think, one of the beginning places where you see her loyalty to Rand and her loyalty to the Tower start to split her in two. That really, this is the first place where all of a sudden, like, she's been loyal to Rand, she's been hanging out with him, she's been with the Aiel, who are sworn to Rand, and then she goes back to the White Tower, and all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, so when are you going to bring him on over? And she's like, whoa, that's not what I'm here for. I'm part of the White Tower now. You know, and then all of a sudden you had, like, this is that fracturing of the break that leads to the Wise Ones, I think, kind of saying, we're not with you at the last battle in that confrontation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the whole breaking of the seals thing, and the Aiel are like, no, bad
we're actually
call.
on his side, yeah.
Yeah. It is interesting. I mean, this is the moment where now that she is Amberlin, they have different agendas. And so Egwene comes to them, you know, and she realizes her toe is erased and she can be honest with them, but it's the opposite for the Aiel, the wise women. They're like, we have to, as Seth said earlier, omit truth sometimes. So
Yeah.
And they start lying to her immediately.
yeah.
They ask her, are you going to bring him in? And she's like, well, and they're like, okay, well, we're not telling you the truth from now on.
Yeah. She's really Aes Sedai.
Yeah, she shows up at this meeting and hasn't seen them this whole time and is like, hey, so update on my status. And they're like, okay, so you're not our student anymore. We now have to treat you like a full Aes Sedai. Oh, now you're the chief of the Aes Sedai. Oh, we have to treat you all different. You're not Egwene Alfir apprentice at all anymore. And she wishes she could be, but they are far too clear-eyed to let her get away with that.
Do not compare those women to us.
Yeah, seriously, Egwene, how insulting can you be?
One thing I thought was interesting, Karakarn aside, I feel like the Aiel are sort of against centralized leaders. You know, like there's a lot of committee stuff, you know, with the wise men and the clan chiefs, and they call her like a female chief among the Wetlanders. And I feel like there's just some scoffing about the hierarchy of the White Tower that this like plays into versus how they make decisions together as the Aiel.
A centralized dick measuring contest versus a distributed meritocracy. I wonder which one's better.
Exactly.
It would be like the Wise Ones basing their decisions based on who has more bracelets.
Right. Like a woman accumulates bracelets as she does. Like, you can't just go to the store and buy a bunch. That'd be ridiculous. So, same with leadership. You can't just grab it. Unless you're a Wise One's apprentice who's been instructed to do that, but that's different.
Or you're going to Mardi Gras and you need a bunch of bead bracelets. Then you can go to the store and buy them.
Right. But, you know, that's down in Ebu Dar. I think that's the Festival of Birds.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right.
Or if you're Savannah, you could just raid every trunk you come across, because then you don't have to wear a shirt.
That's actually a really good point. That, you know, it's a comment on Savannah and the fact that she's just stealing these bracelets and putting them on and putting on 10 rings and just throwing. And she's not collecting jack.
No, it's a conquest.
Yeah, just thieving and dressing herself up with no respect for the actual story of any of it.
Pillaging.
Yeah.
So that tells her story very accurately.
Very.
So what do you think? Without men, no women would have gray hairs? Do you agree or disagree with that statement?
I don't.
I don't love the attitudes towards men by a lot of the women in the books. Also, there's women that definitely give me gray hairs.
Right?
So, like,
People give me gray hairs.
Nynaeve would give anyone gray hair.
Except for
just
herself.
like-
Frustrating to her.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the best way to approach these statements, is replace men or women with people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's...
And sometimes I think people give me gray hairs before my time. Without people, no people would have gray hairs.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Just puppies and kittens, please.
And that's what, like, Egwene's doing here. It's like, everyone else is wrong about how to manipulate Rand, except me. I'm right. And it's like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't spare herself, and I was like, good job. You were right. You are trying to... Only I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you immediately you got so close.
And then you just
so
whiff it.
close. Yeah.
I mean, it does say something about, how much we are always ultimately convinced that we're right when we make decisions. Like, fundamentally, you do what you think is right. Not what anyone else thinks is right, what you think is right. And as Amyrlin, obviously she has to have confidence in that, but it's also like, it's with Rand and the fate of the world. Could you please be a little less arrogant?
I'm trying to think of one thing she does to actually help him.
Right. We're lacking any amount of, like, kinship with Rand, which I think is why people are kind of cold on Egwene sometimes. But she also hasn't learned any diplomacy as Amyrlin yet. I'm an Aries, and I feel like Egwene is probably a fire sign because she just goes at it, like, straight head on with, like, the truth instead of... She could manipulate them a little bit, or be like, oh, I am on Rand's side. Like, we have to help each other. No, she's like, here's my point of view. Oh, that's not your agenda? Cool. But yeah, she's not looking out for Rand in the way Nynaeve is. She's just endgame.
Yeah, I can't think of anything she does other than, like, help keep some of Rand's allies a little more organized and keep the White Tower from falling apart. Like, that's of benefit to Rand, but it's not for Rand. Rand wasn't the motivation there.
Yeah. Again, lacking diplomacy, because she could have, like, foster that connection with Rand.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, well, I can't go to him, so I guess I can't do anything. And it's like, that...
Also, Egwene does what she wants. She could go to him very easily.
Right. Make a gateway go. Like...
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my empathies with Egwene is the absolutism. Like, if I cannot have the entire cake, I want no food at all. Like...
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a mood I can relate with.
She won't start a project unless she knows she can do it perfectly.
That I can.
I was going to say.
Like, the food analogy actually isn't very appropriate to me, but the project analogy.
Yeah. That's how I am, too. It's a difficult way to live.
Yeah. There's a lot of really good ideas if I could just ever commit to one of them.
Yeah.
One of the things I will give one of my college roommates credit for is we did a lot of projects together, and I would want to just make it perfect. And he'd be like, no perfect, done! And he'd swap me, like, take it away from me. And he just, eventually, he drilled that into my head, and, like, it doesn't always work, but sometimes, when I'm fussing over starting something, or, like, procrastinating on something, I get, like, Matt in my head being like, like, get to work.
That's a good friend.
I mean, I have to have a mantra that's like, don't think, just do it, and yeah, sometimes on projects it helps. Sometimes on big things it doesn't work.
Sometimes it doesn't work. Because
Yeah.
you're lying to yourself, but it doesn't always work.
But, I mean, I think Egwene's absolutism is definitely like a character trait, but she also just, she doesn't have the time to grow. Like, she's flawed.
Yeah.
She's a flawed person, like we are.
She's a teenager, like Rand.
I think about my first job and, like, things I got called out for, and I was like, oh my god, the self-revelations, like, oh, I can't act that way, or, like, maybe I should try managing it this way, but she's pretty young, so she does a good job, she's effective, but, yeah, she doesn't always make friends or go about things in a nice way. Like,
she's not here to make friends, she's here to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's even mean to Cowan.
And unfortunately, it doesn't have the desired effect.
No.
So the next section I have a little trouble trying to figure out how to break it down, because she tries to joke about Rand, and they're like, no, Rand is serious business, because they know he's been kidnapped and missing for 16 days. And so they are trying not to let Egwene know that because of her change in status.
Right, because she represents the Aes Sedai now.
And so they're being very serious, and she's like, why are you guys so serious? And then she starts spouting off about Rand and suggesting all these things, and the wise ones are just like, Mm-hmm. They're just sitting there, like, eyes closed, mouth closed, trying not to reveal anything that she can, any thread she can pull on that will let her know that Rand's been missing for 16 days.
Major poker face is happening in this scene. They're like, you believe what you believe.
I mean, I know it's multi-layered, but what do you think is going through their heads when they're withholding this information? Like, what bad things do they think could come of it, or unwanted results?
This is before the battle or after the battle?
Based on timing, I think this is the day of the battle.
Oh, I think it's right after.
I think it's right. So it's right after, right? So I think the battle happened that day, and this is the night of.
So they know which Aes Sedai are the ones that kidnapped him versus the ones that didn't kidnap him.
Yeah.
And they know who she's aligned with.
Mm-hmm.
But they are still sorting out what to do with the Aes Sedai prisoners and the Aes Sedai not quite prisoners. They're still very much in transit on that. So I think they're not letting her know because Rand literally hasn't decided what he's doing with her embassy yet.
And they, I think, want a stake in control of the situation, you know?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It does solidify them closer to him as useful, given all the people who've betrayed him, and yeah.
And Egwene wonders about the relationship between the different wise ones, and it's like, they just fought a battle today.
Yeah, they maybe had, friends or family, die or nearly die. They're probably exhausted.
Yeah.
They wore so little expression, she was sure they were snickering inside. And it's like, that is not what they are feeling right now.
No. They're trying to figure out, exactly how many places the shrapnel would fly if Egwene figured out what was happening with her embassy, Rand, and Elida's.
Mm-hmm.
Do not spill those beans.
Kneel and swear or you will be knelt. That's kind of where that's what's going on with her Aes Sedai right now.
Yeah, and the wise ones are like, yeah, let's not tell the leader that they're people. Yeah. And I think that she's not I think that Amis, when she promises to Egwene to not mention this, I don't think her face is flat because she's offended.
No, not at all.
At all. She's like, oh, her face is flat with relief that she doesn't have to come up with something more complicated. She can just promise to not bring something up to Rand that he would never ask about and that will not come up given the shit he's dealing with over the next few days.
They're behaving like Aes Sedai, with all the withholding.
Managing
I think the tables are turning. Yeah, Egwene's being open with them.
It's 4-on-1, and they have way more experience, any one of them, than she does. So
we'll see. There's no difficulty between him and any Aes Sedai. Yeah, because they all swore to him today.
Yeah, we will.
They knelt and swore.
We will make sure that continues to be a thing.
Yeah.
There was difficulty, but we're not going to mention it.
Difficulty,
just a little bit.
Yeah. I guarantee Marina will have no problem getting along with Rand, not causing any trouble. That's exact. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, why don't I have a report? And what's going on? And it's like,
maybe she forgot to pack the birds.
Yeah, she just forgot.
Oh my god.
A gray diplomat went on a big mission and forgot how to write.
Forgot her birds. Forgot how to communicate. Yeah, okay. This is as bad as a dog ate my homework. Terrible lies.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, Egwene's like, all right, I am surrounded by idiots. Use milk. You didn't pack the birds.
Right?
What's next?
Totally.
Yeah, that's exactly. She's like, oh, what an idiot.
What do you think the thing is with Amis flicking into Cotton's sore and making a maiden hand talk gesture? Because I thought I knew, and as we've been going through this, I'm revising what I thought I knew.
I thought it had to do with the leadership struggle between Cerelia and Amis. Between whether to fight the other wise ones versus not fight in the battle.
I don't think so. I think it's because Egwene says, I knew I'd have the unvarnished truth from you, Amis. I can't tell you how glad I am to hear it.
I think it's shame.
Well, because at first, I always thought it was the little, you have honor, thing that we see with Aviendha. But the way we've been going through this chapter, I'm just like, yeah, it's got to be that she's a little ashamed that Egwene just said, you're so honest, and it's so good we can talk to each other. And it's like,
right.
She just cringed a little bit. Just for a second.
And she's been lying by omission for this entire conversation.
I mean, she describes her also earlier as, motherly, and, yeah, the tables have turned, and Egwene is being really open, so I feel like when she says that, it's just shame, and she, retreats into, younger form,
It's just that little, I have toe. It's a good thing that no one ever taught Egwene hand talk, because then she would have known the I have toe symbol, and then she would have been like, It's a really honestly bad control on Amice's part. Amice must be very upset to let that flicker out.
I mean, a lot of things are not normal. There's been a lot of traumatic events. I would say that everyone's...
Her husband did just come out of a meat grinder in one piece, so a little distracted.
She did just break tradition and law to attack other wise ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was wild.
It was a day.
Yeah, it was a day. She could use some used milk, put her feet up.
Seriously.
And Egwene totally misunderstands it, too.
Yeah.
She's like...
Something not knowing anything that's happening makes you confused. And she's sort of snickering to herself about how Rand's going to be mad that she completely circumvented Matt's mission, which is just like, these are your childhood friends. Stop being such an asshole to them.
But also, Rand, like, forgot.
Oh, it was a day.
Not really, but, like...
It was a whole week.
Yeah, he's got other stuff going on. He's not worried about it.
He doesn't learn that that party got split up until Elaine is, like, claiming the Lion Throne. And that's when it's like, where's Matt? And she's like, Matt who? What?
Yeah, well, we lost him ages ago.
Yeah.
I don't know what country he's in, huh?
Mullane almost gives away the goat. She says she grumbled that Rand should finish the Shido and Savannah now. And that has to be a post-Doom Eyes Wells comment, because now they're on the run. And so she's like... Whereas Elaine interprets that as, like, go hunt them down in whatever northern... Like, that doesn't make any sense. But she's commenting on a post-Doom Eyes Wells, hunt them down before they get away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she lets that slip. And that's why both Bear and Amice frown at her, because they're like, why did you... We're not talking about that, you know? That's a clue. If Egwene had pulled that thread, she could have unraveled quite a bit.
Yeah.
But fortunately, she was so caught up in the fact that they saw her shame as a weak leader that she doesn't think to pull on that thread. She's just not glad that they missed her shame, but like she's focused on herself, right?
Yeah.
And then she thinks about forging a link between the Wise Ones and the White Tower someday, maybe, possibly. And my heart breaks for how she doesn't get to do that properly.
Student exchange program.
Exactly. It's so great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think they'll keep it up. I think that that
too.
plan will go through in the Fourth Age, but it's neat that she's already thinking of it like on the back burner here.
She has so many good ideas, and that Cadswain will not continue. But
this one she'd better have, because she respects Soralia. So.
Well, that one, but yeah, I just feel like Egwene was a visionary. You know, she would have been the Steve Jobs of the White Tower if she had a lifespan.
This is an eye bond. I don't know.
I was convinced recently that Codswain would be much more progressive than people. She's like, oh, she's an old stick in the mud. And I'm like, well, she kind of isn't. Like, she learned from the Wilder, that she got her paralysis net from.
Mm.
You know, she's done a lot of things against Tower tradition, and she thinks the Tower is kind of dumb. So, like, she is kind of a stick in the mud, but I bet she is going to carry on a big chunk of Egwene's legacy and even push it further.
Yeah.
Because, like,
Agreed.
what's the worst they're going to do to her? Kill her? She's already, like, nearly
And
dead.
she sees what's
Like,
practical, because she doesn't listen to anyone but herself. So she's going to be like, oh yeah, no, that makes the tower stronger. We're doing it.
She could. I just don't know how collaborative she is. Like, Egwene was good at listening to other people
Sure.
and picking up on things and then applying that. So in terms of, like, generating new ideas, or not that she'd be as stuck in the mud, but she is very hierarchical. So I don't know. But she'd be okay. But she's not going to be Egwene.
No.
No, well, nobody is. That's why the tragedy of her death is so tragic.
Yeah.
But yeah, the lack of, you know, her leadership that we expected that was going to carry forward the White Tower into the New Age, you took that away.
Yeah. Luckily I have some unpublished fan fiction all about the student exchange program that I someday will complete and publish.
Nice. Nice. So she warns them that Moghedien might know more than they do, maybe, possibly, and they hear the warning without pride. They're like, no, that checks out. And then we see later that they do hold their own against Forsaken in the dream, but it's a near thing, right? Like, this warning is very merited.
And we do get a comment about men dreamwalkers. Although I do think that might be just the men in the flesh.
Yeah.
Using the power to come there in the flesh. I don't think it's like, they're not like native dreamwalkers.
Well, Moghedien is a thing now?
Yeah.
Could be a reference to Moghedien, the new Moghedien in a new body.
Just because it's very much an Ishamael Moghedien thing to do, is to actually use the dream sometimes. But yeah, I could totally see other male Forsaken using the power to get there, and yeah, looking like dreamwalkers from the Wise Ones' glimpses.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder if Esam ever goes into the dream. He does!
Yeah, no, he does.
So he's got
Yeah,
to be...
Yeah.
He's probably one of the ones, too. that they're seeing.
I think so. And I mean, Perrin's always fumbling around. They've probably seen
and
him.
actually,
you
Luke
know.
and Esau, that's 2 people for the price of 1 that they could have seen.
Yeah, and Moghedien, this is the book where Moghedien encounters Rand in
Oh, right, yeah,
Shadow
of course,
Logos.
the crossing
So
of the
Moghedien
streams.
is around.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the crossing of the streams. So Moghedien is around. Assuming he was resurrected either at the same time or slightly after Arangar and Osengar, being as he died quite a bit after they did. Yeah, we don't really get the mechanics on that because, they're dead for a long time before they come back. Moghedien, not so much.
But, I mean, does death really have a time?
Time seems to be the only thing, time messing with Balefire does prevent you from being resurrected, so yes.
But, yeah, it's, I don't think there's a lot to gain from that other than the dream world's getting crowded.
Yeah, there's a lot of traffic. It's like LA post-pandemic. All of a sudden, there's a lot of traffic. Where did this come from?
Stay home.
I am.
It's another sort of ironic statement where she's like, the whole world seems to be changing every time I blink. You 3 are the few firm spots in it. And this is after they've upended their whole tradition. Everything's different now. And they're like, we might not be the same tomorrow. Don't depend on
And
us.
their relationship changed over the course of this meeting, and it's like, yeah, your North Star is actually a satellite, so
Awkward.
there's just this nice parting wave, and then she leaves because the wise ones are like, yeah, we should all go to sleep and stop talking about awkward things. That'd be good.
Yeah, and we're exhausted.
Right.
Yep.
And then she spends a second thinking about banging Gawain, and then she goes into dream space and
Yep.
thinks about Gawain.
She almost jumps into the world of dreams to actually go bang Gawain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she thinks about it real hard.
I mean, I obviously don't want Gawain, but if I was a dreamwalker, I would probably take advantage of this. Yeah, I would have more fun than Egwene is having.
Quite, right? I'd be doing so much more with that dream.
Yeah, I'd have my own Dream Shard club, bring all my friends, give them a spa day,
Why not grab Nynaeve and Elaine and just chill and chat and hang out? And why risk worrying about meeting in Tel'aran'rhiod if you can create your own little pocket universe?
Yeah, you could
I guess because they're totally under your control, so they don't have free will.
Yeah, but you could go tanning in Tanchico every night.
I think it's only if you exercise that control. I mean, it's untested because we really just see it with Dark Friends and Shadows or Forsaken, but
yeah.
But yeah, you really could create any paradise you wanted to and just hang out.
Yeah,
in it
to say
overnight.
nothing of risk-free sex. We've discussed pregnancy and dreams so many times. Talk about birth control. Just go do it in a dream.
I was wondering because I was like, oh, you can get injured in the dream world. So
Can you get pregnant in the dream world?
yeah, does that stuff apply? I don't know. Probably not.
It's an endlessly fascinating discussion.
Does the sex count?
You can be poisoned, which means once it's inside of you, that physical
So how
it damages you.
So how different is a sperm from a psychoactive compound?
Well, because what I'm thinking is the psychoactive compound hurts you while you're in the dream, and once you leave, it's not in your system anymore, but the damage is still there.
Yeah. So you could basically have a phantom pregnancy. You have the worst freaking PMS ever. I'm literally dying.
Hung out in Teleron for a while, let the pregnancy develop for a while, and then left, and it just would vanish.
God, that would be the worst postpartum depression. That would be bad. You could give people some serious mindfuckery with that.
Oh, that spin-off where Egwene has to awkwardly tell Gawain that she's pregnant with his baby, but he doesn't know how. And she's like, remember that dream you had?
Turns out.
It was so good.
It's actually how souls are made.
Dream sex.
Dream sex. And then,
Oh my god.
dream
yeah.
pregnancies result in new souls that are created.
They have to come from somewhere.
And if the wheel turns enough times, right, eventually all souls are created that way.
That's how the heroes of the Horn are reborn, actually. They're just surrogates, and then that's how that works.
Every time we get a new hero of the Horn, you have to have, a dream
It's just
pregnancy.
a dream walker getting
Yeah.
pregnant in the dream
Totally.
world. Yeah.
That's what happened with Noel. It's Noel. Noel is actually the son of Gawain and Egwene, though, from the
Yeah.
dream sex.
Yeah.
Don't give me that look.
I hate it. Okay, what is relevant in these dreams, and what
Well, there's foreshadowing of the future with Gawain and Egwene in the two paths.
I think she's pretty accurate when she says the ones about kissing Gawain and running in a spring with her sisters, those and nightmares where Aes Sedai are chasing her switches. I think those are actual just dreams.
Yeah.
She identifies them pretty well. There's the Gawain walking across the floor of broken glass, just basically crawling across wounds and emotional things to get to her.
Yeah.
Becoming a damaged person in the process.
Yeah.
Seems accurate.
Yep.
The fork in the path that we know marrying her leads to a violent death, and not marrying her leads to a long life and a calm death in bed.
But in the read, she doesn't know which is which,
Correct.
right?
She knows those two things are both in doubt, but she doesn't know the combinations, and we know that it's the more tragic option.
It's like, because you're like, oh, love will win out. They'll love each other and they'll live a long, happy life. And it's like, no.
I like that she doesn't know, and she knows she doesn't know. She doesn't, assume. She's just like, oh no, there's serious doubt. He might die or he might marry me, and those things are not paired in a good way, necessarily.
I wonder if that plays into, I never thought about it this way, but into her treatment of him when he does go to her, and, his journey to becoming her warder. She's not extremely compassionate during that time, and I had always chalked it up to, where she is in her transition, coming to Amerlin, and, he's kind of a mess also, and, not properly respecting her. But I wonder if this dream played into it, of her not knowing, so her not trying to follow her heart's desire and just seeing how things play out. Because she makes it really tough for him, and he still ends up by her side. So it's kind of it was his decision, not hers, whereas if she had just let him in,
because she knows
she would be choosing the path.
Yeah.
Right. So she didn't want to choose the path that she put him down because she wasn't aware which one was dangerous, and she wanted him to choose his own path, and she does that by being hard to get.
Yeah.
It starts out good and then degrades. But no, that makes sense, because later on she says she knows that she's going to marry him. And so it makes sense that because she doesn't know if that leads to his death or not, she really doesn't want to push and pull him in, right? And force a situation to happen by telling people.
Yeah.
And this dream really does seem to indicate that he turns towards her.
Yes.
So whatever choice, he has a choice, but this dream also indicates that choice is going to be marrying her.
Yeah. He's going to see her, and that will dictate all of his other choices.
What did you think about this wall of Aes Sedai seal discs that she's trying to tear down?
I think it's the White Tower and the traditions of the White Tower.
I like the traditions of the White Tower, the laws and the rules that are keeping her from that are keeping the White Tower shitty.
Yeah, the 3 O's, the law that she can't put herself into danger, just everything about the Aes Sedai that makes them so insular and gatekeepy to her power. That's what I've always figured. And there's also a little bit about she's going to fight Rand on the issue of the seals.
Yeah.
Each seal is one of the Aes Sedai from the tower, and that's why some of them are broken now, because those are the ones who are corrupted by those are the Dark Friend.
Oh,
so that's the Black Ajah.
yeah.
So each seal represents a single Aes Sedai trying to tear down the tradition.
Yeah, and it's crumbling, right? The White Tower is rotten at its core, and it's falling apart for lack of material strength. Even though it shouldn't be, because it's the White Tower. It's Quendiar. It cannot be broken. It's too big to fail. It's failing.
I think some of that too is they've been so rigid that they've become brittle.
Totally.
And so that's why she has to be such a progressive leader.
Same thing with Rand. Becoming Quendiar. It's not a good idea.
Yeah, no.
Oh.
What is the difference between strength and hardness? Right? They are not synonyms.
I have to be so hard. Just weird that.
And we've got Matt and his fireworks figuring out guns.
Matt making guns.
He's watching an Illuminator's display of fireworks. So that's Aludra. Aludra has to be in the vision.
And then arrows of fire flash from his clenched fist. I mean, is that not a description of a gun?
Yeah, it also reminds me of High Lord Salmon's sigil and a couple of other Ashaman sigils. A fist with lightning is a very male channeler symbol. I think the first time I read this, I was like, but Matt's not a channeler. Why fist lightning? That's a male channeler thing. But gunpowder's kind of the great equalizer. A non-channeler can fire a gun just as well as a channeler.
Shadow and Bone, I watched, came out.
I did too.
Yeah. And there's a line in there where they say, You know, it used to be we were worth 1,000 men, and then they had guns, and now we're worth 100 men, and then they had this thing, and now we're worth 10 men, and how soon before we're not worth any more as magic users? We're not worth any more than a man with a complicated machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the most interesting conundrums in fantasy.
Just means that the next age is steampunk.
That's exactly.
Which is fine.
Then we get her on the headsman's block with an axe coming down, and if somewhere someone was running, if they ran fast enough, the axe would stop. Who is that person who's running? I mean, because I assume this is her death at the end of the series, right?
Yeah.
It could be her death, or it could be Gowan saving her from the Shanshan blood swords.
That's a good point. Oh, I like that.
Because there's so many things that she gets saved from at the last minute. Like, this could work for several things. It always reminds me of her trying to get to Gawain when Gawain is dying, but she's the one running, not the one dying in that. So, yeah, maybe one of the 17 different times she gets saved in the tower right before the end.
Gawain saving her from the blood knives seems to really fit the bill to me.
I just because I can't single out someone who would save her in that last moment, because no one knows that that's gonna happen to her. She's gonna be the flame of Tar Valon, or
Right.
But it makes sense that the whole, like, she's strapped to the block because she's in the dream, right? She's, like, fully catatonic and unable to respond, no matter the physical stimuli around her.
And Blade's trying to get her.
Yeah, Blade's descending. I mean, there's literally, I think, doesn't he literally, like, stop a blade with his sword? Like, that's descending on
Yeah, that's,
her?
like, the first moment. And he literally runs back to her, right? Like, his foot gets cut off, or his shoe gets cut off by
he has one foot.
But, like, he literally runs in.
We lose a lot of hands, but not very many feet in
Yeah.
this series.
Yeah. He's just hopping to save Elaine.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's very much him running into the room at the last possible second. So.
Yeah, that fits. Moghedien taking over for the as head of the Black Tower after Rand dies, but it's not actually Rand, right? That's why his face breaks apart like a paper puppet, because he's no longer in that puppet. He's in a different puppet.
But Moghedien sees himself as stepping into Rand's role that he made and left. So, like, that is very much how Moghedien views the situation, regardless of Rand's transmigration.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Not that she knows that, but it works.
Well, and she touches his face, and that's when it breaks apart. It's not Moghedien breaking apart his face, you know.
And then the last one, I do not understand at all.
Nope, me neither. A golden hawk stretched out its wing and touched her, and she and the hawk were tied together somehow. All she knew was that the hawk was female.
A genian?
That's the only thing I can think.
Yeah.
I don't.
Aginin, yeah.
But the thing is, we never.
Her symbol is a hawk.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. I assumed it was something anchory.
No, it's...
Okay, then it is Egyanan. And because she could have saved her with the water bond, Egyanan is, like, they bond together.
This is one of those things I think Jordan had a lot more plans for this, and Sanderson included it, but it was sort of a last minute, like, after Gawain's dead. He threw it in there, and then it didn't mean anything, really. Yeah. And I would have loved to have seen a little more Egyanan, Egwene, sort of, honestly, like, right, the whole relationship with Gawain just needs to go, and Egyanan needs to be her warder. She needs to actually be in a situation where Egyanan saves her life, and she has to come to a realization that even though she hates the Shanshan, she needs one to be her warder.
Yeah, I wanted that so bad.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think the show has to give us more, because I think a lot of people wanted more of that payoff from that relationship, more time.
Especially with the way that Egyanan is coming around to seeing channelers. Like, the parallels between her and Egwene getting over their deep-seated fears, and, like, Egyanan being another female warder and getting to experience all of that. And, like, there's just so much we could have there.
And she's not a minor character. No. Egyanan is written to be a pretty major who marries
Bail
Domon. Right. You know, there's so much interesting stuff there, and then she's just not used in the final battle.
It's like, Domon had one of the seals. He has the first seal we see in the damn books. Like, him being part of the Amerlin's inner circle makes so much sense, but...
Agree.
And also, how great is it to have, like, if you have the Amerlin seat and her warder, and her warder's husband back there, and Bail Domon's like, hey, Rand, what's up? And Rand's like... hi? Like, just that, like, blast from the past. How did you go from a sea captain to standing behind him?
Right?
Exactly. He's got a great story. I love Bail Delmon.
They both have great arcs.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so, like, give them a little more screen space at the end. Make that bond a little more prominent. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So a man lies dying on a bed, and it's important he not die outside a funeral pyre is being built, is the Rand Moghedien
That's
something,
Rand, yeah.
something,
Yeah.
you know. The dark young man holds an object in his hand that shines so brightly she can't see what it is he who pulls it out shall follow after. Deshiva with Kalendor.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
Really? He's a dark young man that holds an object that shines too bright to look at. Does happen.
I was thinking Rand cleansing the source.
He's not a dark young man.
The darkness could just be shadows. Because the light's so bright that it's that, like, contrast thing that you're so bright holding the...
I don't know. He's ginger. I just don't know.
Is Kalendor in the cleansing battle?
Yes.
So that would work. It could be the cleansing, but it's him, it's what's-his-face, Deshiva battling in the cleansing.
Not Deshiva. Deshiva's the Forsaken. Norishma.
Fucking names.
Yeah. That's why I was like, Deshiva.
That's
it's
why-
not Deshiva.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what
yeah.
I was
That's
getting confused too.
The good guy.
Okay.
He who pulls it out shall follow after is a longer name, but it gets to the point.
Norishma with the bells in his hair.
Yes.
Okay, yes. Okay, that makes sense.
That's what I meant, was because, and that's a big important part of that battle for Rand. That's very relevant to how Kalendor fits into the endgame, is being part of that battle.
Gosh, if Egwene was smart, she would have consulted with Min, because I feel like dreaming and
Yes.
reading the omens have such
Colors
overlap.
of ribbons and stuff. Like, can we talk?
Yeah.
Make some references. What if some of the symbolism
Either way.
Yeah.
from the visions, like, would help her, or some of the symbols that Min sees would help her interpret the dream? That makes so much sense. Right? Oh, you see a golden hawk around this person. That means the golden hawk in my dream might be that person, you know? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Egwene's she's so clever, and then at other times just is not the most analytical. So it's interesting. But she's also stubborn, so I feel like she's determined to learn to interpret the dreams, like, all on her own. She never, like, tries to get guidance or suss out. It's, like, very much her own mission battle. Yeah.
well, she's got that one Aes Sedai who wants to help her, but then gets murdered.
Right.
Anaya.
But, yeah.
Anaya, thank you.
But Anaya probably couldn't really help her interpret.
Honestly,
Maybe.
you know who really would have been of help? Shan-Chan.
Yeah.
The Shan-Chan High Court and all of their omens.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I thought of Min. 'Cause
Yeah, totally.
Another reason to have Egyanin in there.
Yeah.
Right? Have Egyanin,
Yes,
like,
the basic
as-
omens. Oh.
Mhm. Yes.
and she could help her interpret with the dreams.
Mhm.
I always figured, too, that, like, the way that Egwene rejects Egyanin and then dies at the end, the dreams we get that hint at her coming the whole time indicate that she could have actually saved Egwene if Egwene had chosen to fully trust her, which she never does. And that's the worst tragedy, worse than Gawain even, is that she gets in the way of her own savior.
Is there at any point that Egyanin's running to save her? Because that might refer to that previous prophecy where Egyanin's trying to run fast enough and doesn't make it.
She releases the bond and shoves Egyanin through a gateway too quickly for her to get back through, but I agree. Egyanin probably flings herself through that space and just misses because she's dedicated. Water bond or no water bond, Egyanin is like, when she decides who she's loyal to, she's there.
Totally.
Mhm.
Yeah, I could see that, and it's just Egwene can't let go of her trauma enough to save herself. Not relatable at all.
She just doesn't have enough time.
No.
I don't think anyone in this book would have enough time to work through the amount of traumas that they experience,
Extremely
like,
fair.
every day.
So fair.
Or the amount of information, you know, this is she gets so on and on they came. She sort of feverishly, desperately tried to understand. There's so much information coming in, and, like, it's just trying to record it, sort through it, cross-reference it. That alone is the work of centuries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's notes in Corian and Deal's. There's like a note in Corian and Deal's notes, right, about how it's like it can drive you almost insane trying to keep up.
Mhm.
Like, and I mean, Egwene
Yeah.
arguably kind of goes insane, and then just is really functional about it.
But it seems to be just the dismissing of it. It's like, I can't base my future actions on these vague prophecies that I can't interpret. Like,
Which
I
is
just have
fair.
to hope they're going to guide me. Maybe the right information will come up at the right time, but I have to move on.
Yeah. Fair. It would drive her crazy to interpret all of them, especially the ones that impact her directly. And it's good when it can help the tower. She does.
Totally. Well, and the one dream that like she actually has of the Shan attack coming is the one that no one listens to.
Yeah, right.
You know, so it's not like she doesn't try and warn everybody and try and use the dream. It's just like that's just...
So ridiculous too, because Elida is the foretelling. Like what?
Yeah.
So
It's like the pattern really wanted Elida out of the picture.
Almost.
Yeah, she had to go.
On and on they came, and she sorted feverishly, desperately tried to understand. There was no rest in it, but it must be done. She would do what must be done. That's a super long paragraph.
That's Egwene in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, Jay. That was
really
fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
How did you think to start your podcast? Like, what was the motivation behind Randland TV Pod? I'm assuming the TV show, because the name.
It was the TV show, because it was something we'd actually talked about for a couple of years. But Colin and I definitely, we just weren't in the spot to do it, and the rumors of the show kept starting and stopping, and then once it was real, and the timing just felt right, we were like, well, let's do this. And I mean, we really started from scratch. We didn't know really anything about the community, and we knew we didn't want to do a reread because we were a fan already of spoilers. Wheel of Time want spoilers, and other podcasts that, you know, there's so many people who have different take on it, and you guys do it the best in my opinion, but like but I was like, yeah,
you can come on anytime.
But I was like, I don't think we could do that. But we were all about the TV show, and I work in production, and my warder works in production, and Colin's a writer, and so it just, you know, felt like the right time, and there was a lot to talk about, and so, yeah, we're excited. And obviously with the TV show actually coming out, we've started YouTube, and we're going to start doing live content so that we can react in real time, which is kind of what we've been waiting. We never planned to have a podcast for this long without the TV show, I should say. Like, so, and I never wanted...
It was the whole year of COVID that delayed everything by us. We've all been sort of...
Yeah.
We were ready.
We're still ready.
We were still ready. We're like, I feel like we've been edging for a year. Like, on this podcast. Like,
we're like Sting.
Yeah.
Exactly. I know, but I'm so ready, and I'm getting amped, and it's kind of good that we had a little bit of a break, maybe.
And like explore the community more and like other angles and skills, because you never know how much you don't know until you try to pick up a new skill, and then you're like, oh god,
yeah. Exactly. And like video's new, you know, so that's something we'll be developing for YouTube. But yeah, it's been awesome.
Yours is definitely one of those podcasts I'm always like, I'm going to listen to that. I swear I am. And then it's like, it's been 6 months again.
Thanks, Aradia.
I'm the worst. I'm the worst. Yours is on the top of the list.
You have to stop bringing guests on and telling them you don't listen to their content.
I just believe in serious honesty, okay? Just like when I don't... Just don't expect me to know your content because I'm a bad person.
What's the line? I don't mean lie. Just don't bring it up.
Yes, boss.
That's okay. Yeah, we try to have fun. I think like the last 2 years without the TV show has allowed us to just play a lot and then figure out exactly what we want to do when we have a TV show, which was our purpose for being a raison d'etre. So yeah,
it was also a chance for the community to come together. I really feel like all the content creators were able to sort of get to know each other and communicate, and like I was aware of a lot of the content creators out there, but I hadn't gotten a chance to talk with them and meet them, or you know, have Zoom conversations with them. And now I feel like, I mean, partially because I've been having a bunch of guests on from the community, but at least I feel like I've gotten the chance to solidify the whole community in my head, which I think is going to be really important when it blows up and starts growing immensely.
Mm-hmm.
Totally agree. And it's also just been, I mean, that has been one of the best parts of the pandemic, sort of, like, side effect. I hate to say that, but yeah, it gave us breathing space to do that, because before it was like the community, the fandom, and Twitter of time, but the creators connecting has been great. And so I feel like we have this own support system and community. It'll be harder for the new people coming in.
I feel a little bad for them. Like, nope, full. We're full.
Yeah, we're like a fraternity, sorority.
The band has all the members it needs. We're good.
We're gonna need like a test, like in the White Tower, like for you to be raised to and accepted.
To allow you to try to start a project. We're going to go from being super supportive to being like hardcore gatekeepers.
Absolutely. If you were not part of this community before X date, get out. No, absolutely not. You know, we'll have to accept even the older novices into the community.
Oh, for sure. The kin, everyone.
Oh, yeah. To bring in communities we didn't know existed because they were out sailing boats randomly. Like, yeah.
The first time someone who hadn't read the books before the TV show came out finishes the books and corrects me on something, that's going to be an issue. I'm going to be like, you're right. I'm angry about it, but you're right. Someone who at this point has never heard of the Wheel of Time is going to correct me about something on this podcast about the Wheel of Time.
That's going to suck.
So, yeah.
We should probably make a prize.
You guys should do your own call-in show where new fans can call in and just ask a question about something they don't understand because they've just watched the TV show. Like, wow, I don't understand it. And, like, you guys would know all the answers.
Well,
at least Aradia.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it depends, too, on how they make changes to it. If they change a backstory, then my information might not work for that turning of field that they're asking about.
But I think world building, hopefully, it's pretty consistent.
Yeah, one would hope. One would hope. It's like, yeah, no, actually, Layman didn't cut down the tree. That was over in, like, Saldaea. Like, that would be hard.
Yeah, and Moraine Saldaean.
Right, yeah. It would just...
yeah.
But there's also, like, there's going to be a lot of, this is how it's in the books, this is how it's in the show, here's the difference, here's where it went in the books. Based on this difference, here's where I think it's going to go in the show. You know, there's that sort of... Or,
like, mechanical stuff. Like, how does channeling work? Are there 5 powers or 10 powers or 1 power? Like, we'll be able to be like, no, there's 5. Here's all this exposition that they cut out of the show. Let me give it to you.
And just basic stuff like knowing about Malkier and Lan's history and backstory. And, you know, and knowing the continents, knowing the continents, knowing the countries.
The continent of Randland.
Yes, the continent of Randland. We won't know the continents because he didn't name any of them.
Rafe, fix it. Give us a continent name.
God, I wonder if he's gonna do like a Westeros or a Westlands, or like if they're gonna somehow
that is
pick
a good
name
question
for. Just please leave West
Randland.
out of it. Just leave the word West out. It's so.
I know it's done.
Yeah, are we gonna see a flyover zooming map? Like, I mean, there's so
No, they can't copy.
Well, no. I mean, it can't be the GOT map, but. I mean, it's interesting. A lot of networks have their own, like, style for show intros. You know, like HBO kind of has, like, a stylized thing that, and Netflix has their own thing. Amazon doesn't really yet because their content's so, all over the place. So I have no idea, but I hope they don't cheap out on it because it is really important and it does showcase the production value, or, like, can showcase the production value of a show. So it better not be cheesy. Or I will rip it to shreds, pretty much. So.
Yeah. And maps are hugely important in fantasy.
Yeah.
So, like, I do feel like they should show us a map somehow in the show. Like, I think that's incredibly valid, that the map that everyone loves in big color, like, that needs to be
They just have to
shown.
roll with the wind thing rather than the spinning inverted planet thing.
Rafe did say that he thought it was going to be an interesting take on the wind thing.
Yeah, because it makes so much sense. The wind gives you so much opportunity for them to play with. Showing us the map, showing us the landscape, big panning shots over armies that are headed to meet each other in 3 months. Like,
and there's a lot of ways to do it. It just doesn't have to be like a 3D map.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to do the gears and the things turning up.
No.
Like, that was a very distinctive style. Like, they're not going to do it like that. But but some sort of the wind flying over the map thing
Yeah. We also don't know how much, I'm like thinking of this in Zelda terms, like how much of the world will be unlocked at the start of the show.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Because certainly in the beginning of the books, you really only get Camelin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and then a little bit of the Faldara. But, like, you have this sort of very narrow path and then a dot.
Right, because they just, like, fast travel through an alternate dimension for, like, a huge portion of the map. Which is great, but yeah, it does sort of limit your geography from a narrative perspective.
Yeah, maybe the wind can take us to meet up with the Black Wind, and then we just keep going from there. Then it's Machin Shin, just like going down the river.
Oh, that'd be bad. Machin Shin is out. That's the first change.
I would be surprised if the waves drop.
That would present too many problems.
That would, though. And I think we've seen a way gate, so that's probably not the case.
Oh, yeah, we have.
It's been a leak. It's been leaked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't acknowledge the leaks.
I try not to, but I'm in so many Wheel-Time communities that, like, I see them.
I try not to, depending on the leak, like, I try not to promote them, but, like, at a certain point we have to acknowledge them.
Right, yeah, once they're out there, it's like...
Yeah, it's there.
Fortunately, I don't have to acknowledge them, because this is not a podcast about the show.
Yeah.
Although,
Exactly.
when it comes out, I can't imagine we're not going to do episodes on it.
Right.
It'd be hard to not.
It'll be hard to not.
And you'll have to come talk to us about it,
Oh,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, I'm definitely, like, I'm trying to be like, okay, you come on podcast now, and then...
I feel like we're going to end up doing, like, commentary while it's out, and then we're going to end up doing, like, a rewatch with, like, deep dive, which I'm sure every Wheel of Time fan is going to watch it more than once. I can't wait. I mean, even if it was the worst thing ever, it would still be, like, my new Harry Potter. Like, I don't feel good. I think I'm going to watch all of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the number of times I watched Winter Dragon just because I thought that was the only thing we'd ever get, like, they're going to have to set the bar really low to make me not watch it.
Oh my God. I have to comment on this. I just rewatched Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight with Billy Zane as the demon, called The Collector, and he was fantastic. It's like one of his first roles. And I texted Colin. I was like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I could actually accept him as Balisman Ishmael because he was so fantastic in Tales from the Crypt. I was like, and not Winter Dragon, obviously, but
Yeah. Well, I just don't want the taint of Winter Dragon to get
I think we'd all prefer a fresh start.
You want to cameo him in somewhere? Fine. Kill him off with a Trolloc. That'd be awesome, right? Whatever.
Just make him
Yeah.
a troll.
Like or something like that. Make him be dark. Whatever. But Winter
do
Dragon
recommend-
was a bit of an insult, and I have
Yeah.
trouble not feeling insulted
Yeah,
by it.
for sure.
And it's hard to then not carry those feelings over to Billy Zane.
And it was a sneaky move. I mean, it was not a good faith thing.
No, there was
So-
very little G. Much toll was earned.
Yeah, there were no G in that, let's say. And everyone should get a strapping.
Yes.
Everyone involved should get a strap.
Literally.
Definitely.
Yeah. The recut version was helpful. It was better.
The Dusty Cut was amazing.
Mm-hmm. The best that could be.
Yeah, they salvaged it way above what I thought it could be salvaged to.
That turd was so shiny. Like, I could see my reflection in that poop.
It
Like,
was amazing.
editing is a skill. And clearly he's got it, and clearly whoever had that, I won't even say the person who edited that didn't have skill, but they spent zero time or effort. Also, they were taking a 5-minute show and trying to stretch it to 30 minutes, so I can't really, It's like, okay, fine, yeah, go ahead.
And the person who edited it was probably getting paid $5 given like one day to do it and had no context of the books and was like, well, I think this makes sense.
Dude, the opening was a bad 3-dimensional version of the logo someone pulled off the internet and like stretched to 3D and threw it on there in like, oh, it was bad. It was so bad.
So bad. I hope the Wheel of Time does so well that we get an animated series. That's like my goal.
A nice ripoff, yeah. Go the way of the Clone Wars.
Like a good animated
Yeah.
series. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, Clone Wars, yeah.
You could do like other historic periods, like Trolloc Wars or Manetheren or something like that, and just be totally off.
We were talking with Lesbian Nerdy about Sean yesterday, and we were brainstorming our own spin-off about like just focused on the Sean when Luther Pendrag was there and how like crazy and shitty it was. And Ace and I were like showing their worst colors pretty much. And I was like, that'd be a spin-off I would watch.
Totally.
I remember what I wanted to ask you. How's that Jeopardy episode editing going?
Slowly. It will be, we're going to finish it this weekend. So it should be out next week. So that's exciting.
About that.
Yeah. Not that I'm sure if we did a poll and asked fans to guess who won, I bet they'd get it right.
I think everybody got it right before we played.
Yeah.
Like we were like, let's put money down on somebody, and everyone's like, against who? Like, who's gonna take that? It's like 10,000 to 1 odds. It's like betting against Matt. You don't do it.
You could have bet against on the house, I guess. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess the only possibility is if the questions were just so hard that Aradia couldn't get any of them right.
I don't think there are questions that hard. They'd have to be phrased in a tricky way. They'd have to be like worded like the Finns would word it, so that Aradia knows the right answer but is just thinking about it wrong.
Or absurd things like, what's the 5th word on the 10th page in Crown of Swords? You know,
right, which
like
I do not have an eidetic memory, so that would be...
No. But yeah, sorry it's taken a minute.
No.
Totally fine.
No, it's totally fine. I'm looking forward to seeing it. So I was like, I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, wait, that hasn't come out.
I've been harassing my warder, but he's been on like 3 projects. I know, we will switch to live soon, which is going to make it easier. But yesterday, actually, we had for me, it was 5 a.m. recording. Because we recorded with Lesbian Nerdy.
Oh, yeah.
And she is in South Korea, so that was fun.
I saw her this morning on the Dusty Wheel with the LAN news that came out.
Oh my gosh.
I happened to catch like the first 15 minutes of that. And, yeah, I was pretty happy about that LAN reveal.
That was a nice LAN reveal.
Yeah.
Midori was nice. The sword was nice.
The hair.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The actual planes of a face that actually looks stony and cold. Very okay with that.
I totally agree, because, I mean, he is very pretty, so I had some natural concern if he could look stony, but he does. And still pretty, I mean.
So it's the LAN bun instead of the man bun now?
I reject that. I reject that so hard.
Thanks, MK. Also, news today that second season is being filmed directly after they finish filming first season.
Oh.
So they have at least that much commitment to pretty much, announce that they are filming season 2 without the season 1 coming out. So they at least have that much confidence in what they're producing that they're like, yeah, just go ahead and film season 2.
It's fantastic.
So we know at least we're getting 2 seasons.
Yay!
That's something, right? We know we'll have enough to at least sink our teeth into.
I mean, if you do 2, you have to do 8.
That's
what I'm assuming.
It's kind of how we started the podcast. Is like, well, if we do book 1, we have to do all 14. So that's I can't stop. Can't stop.
Nope.
14 seasons of the TV show, you think?
That seems
just really
extremely reasonable.
Really slow it down for this section. Really, like, get into the dreams and the nice,
that would be
slow parts of the book.
That would take probably 20 years. I don't even want to think that far in the future.
I would love to see a single episode just dedicated to Flicker, Flicker, Flicker.
Ooh. They could do that as like a special. Like, I mean, not a Christmas special, but that kind of thing where it's like this entire like side quest thing.
Like imply it in the main show and then have a whole separate episode where it's like, oh yeah, this is what was going on. And we'll do a bunch of different variations on that.
I mean, 10 out of 10 would pay extra for that.
Definitely. I feel like it could be its own episode. It's just if the seasons are only 8 episodes, I want more.
Well, actually that wouldn't be a terrible idea for a YouTube channel. Just have someone like come up with absurd ideas for Flicker, Flicker, Flicker and do little skits.
That could be a whole thing.
Because you could take all the characters and put them in whatever situation you want, humorous or ridiculous or terrible, anything you want, So that would be... All right.
Looney Theory's YouTube channel.
Yeah, totally.
The Flicker YouTube channel. Yeah, well, good thing you have so much spare time and no projects to stay focused on because you can
nothing.
get right to it.
Yeah. I'm totally caught up on editing and everything else that I'm working on right now.
Totally.
I gotta go.
I was working today on Broken Earth, too, and thinking, like, I'm going to be sending Seth more work. That's going to be great.
With yesterday and today being recording, I have a hard time editing it on the same days that we record. Mm-hmm. Just because I get overwhelmed. And I'm like, wait, what chapter am I talking about again? So, tomorrow will be a scramble to get the episode out, but that'll be fine. That happens not infrequently.
No, never.
Well, and when we had a monthly time, I was actually doing a decent job of having a buffer, but now with only maybe 2 to 3 episodes of a buffer, it's harder to build that lead,
We had a buffer, and then you went and spent it being distracted.
How dare I?
You having a life? God.
Stop that.
Ridiculous.
I really should. And let's be honest, it's not the life. It's procrastination. It's the problem.
As a professional procrastinator, this is true.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you about it later.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or
Support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?